Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Golden. Now in this video, you're going to have this man basically throwing ballots into the trash can. Now I think this is either Michigan or Wisconsin, but there is a lot of voter fraud happening in especially Michigan right now. As you can see, someone tearing out the ballots and then they're throwing inside the trash can. You know how nice that is. And here in California, you have them doing massive dumping of ballots in California. So they're just picking them up and then they're going to be prepared to throw them in the trash. Huh, interesting. And this is in Long Beach, by the way. And here is some video footage of again in California. And here the lady was asking like, oh, I thought they already took all the ballots. So this is after November 3rd. So after November 3rd, the so-called election police or whatever are now taking all the ballots. Now, let me get this straight. They were supposed to get all these ballots on November 2nd, but now they're getting it on November 4th. You know, the day after the election. So what is this? Ballot harvesting. Just think about that, ladies and gentlemen. This is happening in California. So now a Democrat, the most liberal state in all the United States, does not even bother to count your votes on election day. Now they're taking the ballots after election day. So early voting and mail-in voting doesn't really count, now does it? Let's continue. And now this is in Arizona, so I'm going to show you a few clips of having what's in that state. So let's do this.
The ASU Polytech earlier, that like 4 different polling places were doing Sharpies all in, like between Pink Creek and like the edge of Gilbert.
Yep. And those ones are not being counted.
Yes.
They're invalid.
Yes.
Yes.
Like I approved.
So they're invalidating votes is what they're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
That's how I feel picture.
Okay.
And then there was a guy that directly came out and yelled at me 3 times. They both came out.
Oh no, they called the sheriffs and said that and told us to stop handing out the ballpoint pens, in which case those are the only ones that are actually being counted and
I
validated.
used your pen.
So just think about that. The Democrats are calling the sheriffs to arrest people for giving out ball-out pens because they're not counting the ballots if you use a certain type of ink. Interesting.
And then I
Yeah.
sent it back to you and I
And
said,
they're-
this is somebody.
Yes. And so we know that, and we've been telling them you need to use a ballpoint pen, not the Sharpie, and now those are getting invalidated.
Yeah.
So people are coming here to vote for Donald Trump, and those votes are all getting invalidated. That's what's going on.
And there you go. More voter fraud. This is what happens when you do early voting, and now the Democrats are now saying, oh, dude, you're not using the right type of pen, therefore we can't count your votes. So let's continue. And this was more video confirming the ballpoint pen, and now one of the polar people admitted that they're not counting those votes.
We'll get to the
That's
bottom
what
of
it
it.
means. Use a black ballpoint pen.
These are the votes you can toss and we'll never even know it. That's why you're doing
The
it.
point is that the Sharpies don't, I mean, they did matter for a long time. For like a long time we had to say no to Sharpies because the bleed through would impact the vote. Impact the vote.
Simple as that.
For the people in the back.
Thank you for that information.
And you just said that you just said that it doesn't say that, but it does.
You know what, you should talk to our
I did. I spoke to Erica too. You can't answer the question. I think I'd rather talk to your lawyers. That's who I'd rather talk to at this point. So you can't answer the questions you said you would answer.
I see the names of the people. I didn't get an email address, ma'am. I need an email.
Answer the questions you said you would answer.
And notice how the big fat cop is now blocking them from answering the lady more questions. And now they're wondering why people hate police.
Answer, ma'am. Lawyers' names.
Who do I gotta talk to, man?
Wow.
So there you have it. Just stop pushing that, babe. Hey, stop pushing that, please. They just said.
She just said the Sharpie will impact the vote. Boom. Right from the county recorder.
Right online.
And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. They're openly, the Democrats are doing they're pulling out every string to cheat you out of the election. Not like Nancy Pelosi said, we have plenty of arrows in our quiver, considering, for the so-called election, and there's one of your quivers, throwing ballots away, while they tell everyone your vote matters. Well, apparently when it's for Trump, it doesn't. Let's continue. And here are now the sheriffs and the police protecting the so-called the Democrat counters. So there you go. The police are protecting the Democrats for cheating the election. There you go. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Do I need to write out to you on a piece of paper not to trust the police? Let's continue. And here was outside of one of the many polling places in Arizona. And as you can see, the sheriffs are now blocking people from going in. Because the people want to see, are they counting the ballots or are they throwing it away? So isn't that weird? So the sheriffs don't give a crap that Biden could possibly win over massive cheating and ballot harvesting, and they're going to defund the police. So if the police were smart, why don't they prevent election fraud? Oh wait, because they always think they're going to get paid. If Biden wins, you're all going to be out of a job, but you're pigs anyway, so let's continue. And now this was seen in Georgia. Reports are saying that these vans, there was a huge center that they were counting ballots, and around, I think after the polls closed, all these white vans with men came out of those white vans, and then they rushed into the building very quickly. And the person taking the photograph said it was very odd because they were wearing all black. So these are the vans that they thought were supposed to be dropping out ballots, but they said it had over several dozen men inside these vans dropping out, going straight to the polling places in Georgia. Interesting. This is very similar to news when I covered it in Iran. They did the exact same thing, that they drop off vans of people to do late voting. This is probably going to do with the voting machines, that they're going to try to tap into the voting machines to change the vote. And I'm pretty sure that's happening. Let's continue. And here's in the lovely state of Michigan, which I believe the reason why Biden took it, because the massive voter fraud. So let's listen.
Okay, in front of the polling center where they're counting the votes, where people are just dumping piles and piles of tablets on the top of the table. And a handful of people are looking through them. There's supposed to be 5 people there. There's not 5 people. Sometimes there's only 3 people. So when people are taking pictures of this, they're taking big cardboard pieces of paper and holding them up so you can't see what's going on inside. It's complete chaos, but most importantly, they don't tell us how many GOP people are in there. They're only going by the register that people sign in this building. Nobody was told to sign out when you leave. So it's so they won't let any.
No people are allowed to sign in or out. So you can just have some random person just go in there, count ballots, throw ballots away, and then they can act like they are a professional poll counter. Interesting.
The GOP people in because the GOP people were not told to sign out. Exactly. That's the scam. This is not a fair election. This is a joke. This is bullying. This is intimidation. This is steal the election or you get it. I'm sorry. I hope you understand.
So there you go in Michigan. So the Democrats are cheating because Biden was not campaigning, and I highly doubt that Biden got 72 million votes when he could not even get over 30 people to go to his rallies. Trump got, I think it's close to 69 million right now. So Trump's votes, those are counting because they're trying not to count them. So there's a high possibility that Trump got more, but let's continue. There's also in Michigan, I believe this is Detroit, Michigan.
All the Republican challengers out of this room.
I was all Republican challengers out of this room. According to who died to make you God? So what the talk is that they just want all Republican challengers basically to leave because now the Democrats are now taking over the polling places because they are the ones who want to count all the votes. And I heard news sources that, remember when Facebook and Twitter and other media was saying that they were going to block or censor you if you say anything about who won the election? Well, on Fox News and on, I think, One American News, they covered that Twitter, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Bill Gates, and others had a massive amount of donations given to these polling places that count the votes. Let me say that again. The big tech had massive influence and, let's just say, donating money to the polling places. So they were paying pollers to count votes. That's supposed to be voluntarily. That people go on to volunteer to count the votes without pay. And now big tech went in there, and now they're paying the poll counters to count the votes. There's your election fraud. This is why Trump needs to break up big tech, and he needs to enforce the Insurrection Act right now, because big tech is now officially 100% tampering with the elections, with the counting of the votes. And I believe Stalin said, it's not the votes that matter, it's those who count the votes. So just think about that for a second. Let's continue. Here's in Detroit, Michigan again. Protesters came because they knew there were ballots being thrown away and not counted. So this one kind of shocked me. So let's just listen.
There's a woman on the ground. Just wait a minute.
Wait for it.
Let's hear what you have to say.
I'm from the Detroit Health Department.
Okay, why isn't he wearing a mask right there then?
Yeah, the guy that's covering the window.
So that's right. A man from the health department came out there and said, you guys need to separate and social distance. I'm from the health department. Why is the health department at a polling place? Why is the health department going in there to talk to the people? This is insulting. And then the cops are protecting it because they're trying to protect the system. Once again, don't judge cops. Let's listen to this one more time.
Woman on the ground. Just wait a minute.
Let's hear what you have to say.
Okay, why isn't he wearing a mask right there then?
Yeah, the guy that's covering the window.
And there you go. They are insulting your intelligence. Wear a mask, love the police, and then the police go there and then they protect this piece of trash. Oh, I'm from the health department. Let's continue. Now, this is everyone's favorite video. The reason why I'm putting all these videos together, I'm just trying to get all the footage as possible to prove that there was election fraud. But this is in Nevada. This is the historic moment when some guy came in and told the truth. So let's watch this.
Give that number
The
now.
Biden crime family steal the election. The media's covering it up. The Biden crime family steal this election. The media's covering it up. The Biden crime family steal this election. The media's covering it up. We want our freedom for the world. Give us our freedom, Joe Biden. Your Biden's covering up this election. He's stealing that.
Boom! Someone get that guy peace medal. But then again, Trump needs to start arresting people. He needs to enforce the Insurrection Act, because if Trump doesn't, he's a part of the problem. And he should do it right now. Like right now. And he should start arresting treasonous and all the posters who are counting votes and throwing away, because we know there's massive election fraud happening. But let's continue. This is in Pennsylvania. In one of the polling places that they use voting machines, and you guessed it, oops, the voting machines magically went down. And before I play the video, this was also happening in Georgia, North Carolina, and some other states that the Democrats were trying to win, that voting machines were going down.
To just wait around and wait for these machines to be fixed. So that's possibly what's going on right now. More to come.
You sheriff deputy? Here. What message did you get about this technician? My corporal called me, said that someone's up there to fix whatever was wrong with him.
When?
He's not here later. What? He's not here. I know, he said they'll let everyone get a file or he's on the phone. Did you check? Like, I
Okay, thank you. Here's the deal. If you are in line right now and did not vote, you have a choice. You may continue to wait till the machines are unjammed and you can vote, or you can leave and come back later on to vote later. Now, if that doesn't fit your schedule, whatever, then I strongly suggest you wait until again.
Wow.
Third option is this. If the third option is this, if I can have your attention, please. Third, if I can have your attention, then you know the other way. The third option is this. You can find the name of the book, 9291, and I have your attention.
May I have your attention.
92. Find your name in the book. Vote.
Find your name in the book and vote. Well, how can you vote if all the voting machines are down? AKA, the guy wants you to sign your name in the book, and then it can change your election when the voting machines go back on. So this was all orchestrated. This is why you should have voted when you walked in and not voted with the voting machines. Voting machines was largely supported by Democrats, and there you have it, and we have some more for you. This is in Philadelphia. They're talking to a lawyer. So this is the last verse I have, but I'm trying to find I was trying to find all the video footage of evidence of election fraud, but Twitter is deleting them like crazy. So this is the last one for you.
Good morning. I'm Lisette Lazinger-Tarragano, a retired attorney. I'm here to observe the count for the GOP, and I've been here since 7:30 this morning. This is Thursday morning, November 5th. They won't let us in. We're told the PA commissioner has not updated the lists. They will not let people in, and it's very frustrating because we're supposed to observe the count, and I think that we've been out here for an hour and a half just waiting, a bunch of us, and it's very disconcerting.
And there you go. Let me show you the election map right now. The one that they're so-called, they can't update for some reason. This is by Politico. So I'm going to tell you the obvious. I posted this on brighteon.com. Look at these numbers. 75% of the vote for Nevada. They have 1.8 million people. And yet, this is the third day and they don't have 100% of the votes counted. I wonder why. Election fraud. Arizona, I starting to believe Trump would have taken it, but once again, they're also having a hard time counting all their votes. And everyone's going to say the obvious, that it's kind of weird because I posted on brighteon.social last night, taking pictures at 88%. Trump was beating Joe Biden by 100,000 votes, right? And then magically, within, I don't know, close to like the first day after the election, over 130,000 votes magically went to Joe Biden, and now Joe Biden's winning? So within 88 to 99 votes, doing the 11%, Joe Biden got, let's just say, close to 800,000 votes. And Trump only got 500,000 votes. Interesting how most of the votes went to Joe Biden, and it's the same thing in Wisconsin. Here's Pennsylvania right now, and I strongly believe Trump won Pennsylvania, but it's at 87%. Oh, the same percent that Joe Biden just needs 300,000 votes magically come out of nowhere so he can pull ahead of Trump. North Carolina, this is worrying me. I think they're going to try to pull something in North Carolina. And Georgia, oh wow, he caught up in Georgia. He was at 2.3 million last night on November 4th. And now on November 5th, he's at 2.4. So he's only 20,000 behind Trump in Georgia. So I'm just going to say this. How does someone with dementia manage to get over 72 million votes when he can only get 30 people to go to his rallies. Just think about that for a second. And I strongly believe Trump was going to take Washington and Oregon for the obvious reasons. And look at the percent, only 87% counted in Oregon, and the same in Washington state. Because there was a high possibility Trump could take these two. So if we go to Joe Biden, oh, you got 800,000 votes within, I don't know, a 9% vote count, then Trump could beat Biden. But in our luck, they're all going to go to Biden. And also saw your footages of them just dumping ballots in California. California only has 66% counted. This is the thing that's worrying me in Alaska, only 50%. There's not a massive population of votes to be counted in Alaska. And ever since when they told everyone to only go to only a couple of voting cases, the votes weren't counted. Last, on 2018, when they usually have voting polls all over the place, they could count the votes on the same day. But now with all the early voting and them compacting all the voting polls into several locations, you mean to tell me they still didn't count all the votes? And it seems like the places where I thought Trump would win, they have less than 80% of the votes counted. Unbelievable. And he actually did pretty good in Kentucky, Rhode Island, other states. So my name's to go on, subscribe, like my videos. The reason why this presentation was so long, I'm trying to document all the election fraud because Twitter did delete a lot of election fraud footages of people throwing away ballots. So with that said, my name's to go on, subscribe, like my videos, and have a good one.
Hello, I just thought I'd share with you all these spiffing mugs, made by Nigel and his missus. You can have one made with any picture or design of your choice. Just look at these fucking amazing cups. To get one of your own, use the links provided to get in contact with them, and begin supping your tea or coffee with pride.